Hello, boys and girls. My name is Miss Carly, and today we'll be reading a book that is titled The Dinosaur Expert, and it is written by Margaret McNamara and G. Brian Carus. And I'm so excited to read this book to you guys today because I think dinosaurs are such an interesting thing because they were a big part of our history, and it's so interesting to think that these guys were once roaming around at one point. We never got to see it. But it is luckily for us that we can go see their skeletons and fossils in a museum. And in this book, we're going to talk some more about fossils and the different types of skeletons and the different types of dinosaurs that once roamed around. And within there, there's another story. And I want you to tell me what you think this other story is in the book. I want you to think about if any of these characters have to do with anything, or just what you think the story is going to be about in general. So without further ado, we have The Dinosaur Expert. Kimmy collected things so she could study them. She studied rocks and shells and leaves and pebbles and feathers. She even collected owl pellets, and she took them apart. But of all the things Kimmy collected, fossils were her favorite. And if you look on her bed, she has a box of fossils that looks like they have shells, that they're shell fossils. And there's one right next to that that looks like a plant fossil. And she's even looking at some on her desk right there. That's why Kimmy was happy that Mr. Tiffin's class was at the Natural History Museum for a dinosaur field trip. She had been there many times. She knew so much about dinosaurs, she couldn't wait to share. "Whoa," said Alex as soon as they walked into the first room. "Dinosaur fight!" Kimmy stepped forward. "The big one is a Barosaurus," she said. "She's a plant eater, and the small, fierce one is an Allosaurus. The Allosaurus can move fast, but the Barosaurus has a super powerful tail," continued Kimmy. "She'd use it to protect her baby." "You know a lot about dinosaurs," said Jake. "I love fossils," Kimmy said. "I want to be a scientist when I grow up." "Girls aren't scientists," Jake said, and Kimmy stopped talking. I want you guys to tell me how you think Kimmy feels when Jake said that girls aren't scientists. Because I think that Kimmy is very upset when she hears that. Because she really loves science, and hearing somebody tell her that girls aren't scientists probably made her upset. But what do you guys think? In the next room, there were big photographs of old-fashioned people. Some of them were out in the desert. Some of them were standing with dinosaur bones. "Does anyone know what a dinosaur scientist is called?" asked Mr. Tiffin. Kimmy knew. "A paleontologist," said Eleanor. "Right," said Mr. Tiffin. "Paleontologists study fossils. These pictures show paleontologists from long ago. Dinosaur scientists are still looking for dinosaur fossils nowadays all over the world." Kimmy studied the photographs. She read the fossil hunters' names out loud. "Edward Drinker Cope, Earl Douglas, O.C. Marsh." "See," said Jake. The next room was Kimmy's favorite. Every case had a different set of dinosaur bones. She knew which ones were from the Jurassic period, when the dinosaurs first walked the earth, and which were from the Jurassic period, the age of giant dinosaurs, and which were from the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs shared the planet with so many new species of mammals and insects and birds and flowering plants. Mr. Tiffin led the class to a plaster cast of a tiny dinosaur skeleton. Kimmy knew what it was right away. Archaeopteryx, she whispered. Jurassic. This is an Archaeopteryx from the Jurassic period, Mr. Tiffin said. Look at that skeleton. Does it remind you of anything? Kimmy wanted to tell the class that this dinosaur was a relative of a bird. She wanted to say that birds and dinosaurs were related in that some dinosaurs even had feathers. She put her hand up. Looks like a dancing rabbit, Molly shouted. With a monkey tail, called Jake. Everybody laughed. Kimmy put her hand down. How do you guys think Kimmy felt in that moment? While Tara drew jawbones and Eleanor recited a dinosaur poem, Kimmy studied an oviraptor's nest. After a while, Mr. Tiffin came over. They looked at the exhibit quietly together. Scientists used to think these dinos stole eggs, said Kimmy. But then they realized that oviraptors sat on their eggs to protect them. I'm sure the class would like to hear that, said Mr. Tiffin. Maybe some other time, said Kimmy. Jake ran ahead to the next room. Check this out, he called. It was a special exhibit. This is the biggest dinosaur ever, said Robert. A Titanosaurus. It doesn't even fit in the room, said Alex. Kimmy said, Mr. Tiffin, you might want to come see this. Kimmy went over and took a look. There was a dinosaur she had never seen before, called a Gasparinosaura. She read all about it. And then she saw the photos of Dr. Brandoni de Gasparini. Kimmy smiled wide. I thought you'd like her, said Mr. Tiffin. One picture showed Dr. Brandoni de Gasparini hunting for fossils. Fossil hunting is a dusty business, said Mr. Tiffin. I love dust, said Kimmy. There was another photo of Dr. Brandoni de Gasparini with test tubes, and one of the doctor winning an award. Awesome, said Jake. Really awesome, said Kimmy. She's so cool. In the next 3 rooms, Kimmy kept talking. She told the class a lot. This guy's brain was tiny. People used to think it must have had another brain hiding somewhere to control such a big body, she said, but it only had one. These look like raptor toes, said Kimmy. Some raptors needed 3 toes and others only used 2. Interesting, said Molly. Finger bones are interesting too, Kimmy said. Earlier raptors had 5 toes and later raptors had 3. How come? Asked Jake. They evolved, Kimmy said. They kept what they needed and changed what they didn't. We're always evolving, said Mr. Tiffin. That's a dinosaur, Mommy, said Kimmy. It was preserved for 65 million years before anybody found it. You can even see its skin. You make these dinos sound so real, said Jeremy. It's almost like they're alive, said Anna. Imagine what that field trip would be like, said Mr. Tiffin. Okay, class, back to reality, said Mr. Tiffin. Time to head home. As the class took a last look at the dinosaurs, Kimmy turned to Mr. Tiffin. That Titanosaur was amazing, she said, but I liked the one named for Dr. Brandoni de Gasparini best. Me too, said Mr. Tiffin. When I grow up, I want to be just like her, Kimmy said. I think, said Mr. Tiffin, you already are. And that is the end. All right, I hope you guys really enjoyed that book today, but I want to leave you guys with one question. I want you to think about it. Is how do you think Kimmy felt from the beginning of the book to the end of the book? What do you think was different about how she felt towards the beginning of the book to the end of the book? I want you guys to keep that on your minds. All right, have a good day, guys. I can't wait to see you soon.